Good morning and welcome to my first review. And today I'm going to be reviewing The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. Here's the front cover. It's absolutely fantastic. I read it in a couple of sittings. I really recommend it. And I think, seeing as this is her debut novel, Angie Thomas is definitely one to be looking out for in the young adult fiction aisles. So get down to your local library and get this out, or buy it if you want to. But I'm a real big supporter of libraries, so do get it out of the library. So, a couple of warnings though. You may have heard that in this book the language is a little bit colourful, and for some of you that might be a problem. I must admit, for me sometimes bad language, if there's an excess of it in a book, it can be a bit of a problem. It can get on my nerves. So there is that, you need to think about that. Second of all, if you're like me, you're British, you are white, you're in your 30s. I read a lot of young adult fiction, so it doesn't normally bother me that the protagonists are teenagers. That's not to do with it. What I'm saying is that it's not highly relatable to me, but that for me personally is not a big issue. That doesn't usually spoil my enjoyment of a book, and it certainly didn't with this one. It's just those sort of first few chapters I found I had to work my way into the book. I had to get past the bad language. I had to adjust my thinking. Think, right, okay, yeah, this is not your experience. This is not you are not used to this. You were not brought up in a poor inner city area in the US. You were not brought up in a high crime area. You're not a victim of racism. You're not surrounded by gangs and drugs, violence. But once you get past that, it's a damn good story. So there are two things you can take out of this book, I think. First of all, read it because it's a really good story and the characters are fantastic. They're very well written. And you can also listen to what Angie Thomas is trying to say about the state of race relations in the USA. And we can be very smug in Britain because it's not the same here. However, take a sip of my coffee. I don't think we could be too smug. The news has been full of violent crime recently in the UK. Violent crime using knives is on the up. It has increased by 21% in the last year, particularly in our inner cities. So we do have problems, whether that is to do with race, but I don't think it's a coincidence that most of these victims are young, black and male. So I think these issues of expectations, of opportunities amongst our young people, and equality, and they are still there, they are still pertinent. So this book is still relevant to everybody around the world. So my favourite parts of this book were the characters, the way Angie Thomas writes the characters. They really bounce off the page. You can really imagine the family. Maverick Carter is the main character's dad. He's really clear. I can see him really clearly in my head when I read him. Her mum, Lisa Carter, again, really bolshy, feisty mum who's really protective, wants the best, has worked so hard to get through everything to get to where they are now, where they can afford to put both, three of their kids through private school, and run a business, hold on a full-time job. There is so much to admire in these characters. Those characters really bounce off the page, and her brother Seven really are clear. Their voices are really clear. Star Carter, the main character, is a slow reveal, and I like that. You learn more about her as she learns more about herself throughout the book. She witnesses terrible events in the book. I won't go into any more details, won't spoil it. And through those events and how she's treated and how she reacts to them, she learns so much about herself. It starts in the book, she feels that she's got one foot in one life and one foot in another life. She's got her private school where she goes to, she's got her home, in Garden Heights, in her poor neighbourhood, where her school friends wouldn't dream of visiting because of, so she doesn't like to mix the two worlds. She speaks differently, acts differently in those two places. By the end of the book, she finds a way to be just Star Carter, be herself, find her voice, and be the same wherever she is. And I think that's an issue that most teenagers have at one time or other. You're finding yourself, discovering yourself, and being yourself. And once you work out how you can be that, what it is, it's a huge step to growing up and being the adult you're going to be. It's a novel that made me laugh at times. I laugh out loud, cry, despair, get so angry on behalf of the characters and the injustice. So you go through the full range of emotions, and that's, for me, is a good book. If you come away from a book drained and you feel you've been through the whole gamut, then it's a really good book. I'm really looking forward to what Angie Thomas does next. I think she's going places, and I think that bad language I mentioned at the start, I think it was well used. It was used in a correct way. The characters wouldn't have been realistic without it, so I got past that, and I did find stuff to relate to in the end, because this is a family trying to do the best for themselves in a society that has lots of problems, and I'm a mother trying to do the best for my son, who is mixed race, and it's not always fair the way that people are treated. People are taken by what they look like, by what they sound like. They're just taken at face value, and that's wrong too much in society. And I believe that every life matters. I believe in Black Lives Matters, and if you don't understand that concept, this is a good book to read. I don't want to get political. I'm here to do a book review, but it is good. It's a good way of understanding where that movement came from, what they're trying to do, what they're trying to change in America and around the world. So, fantastic book. Angie Thomas, The Hate You Give. Oh, I love this. Love the Spine. Thug. Fantastic. Read it, and let's look forward to what she reads next. It's a must. Thank you.